Hey, what's up, everybody? This is D from Brooklyn with an update on the shrimp tank. It's been about 2 months now, and you know, this was my first attempt at creating a really designated tank for raising shrimp and plants. And I gotta say, there were some ups and downs, there were a few learning curves, but things are doing very well. Let me take you in for a closer look.
From this moment on, you will now be known as Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh ha ha!
Welcome, brother Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh ha ha!
Enough with the Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh! Well,
So everybody, as I said, there were a few learning curves, and that goes with setting up any tank. I mean, especially if it's your first time, setting up an environment for a specific species. It comes with a lot of learning and a few mistakes, but I'm happy to say that my little buddies are doing very well. As you can see, they're eating, they're very happy, and I have to acquaint that with not YouTube, but learning from a few really knowledgeable people that have been courteous enough to help and share their knowledge, and you cannot beat that. While YouTube and internet and everything is really convenient for getting information, I have to say that being a part of the club, local fish clubs, and meeting people that actually show proven results and things like that is ornamental to success in any hobby, whether it be fishes, whether it be gardening, or any other hobby. But I have to thank all the people that helped me out. It's doing really good. You can see my red is really big. I'm thinking that is a female, and she may be getting buried up there because she's pretty big. The tank is really coming to life. If you can look really close, you'll see that the wood is actually getting a nice green growth on it. They actually graze on that, and I'm really glad that I did the aquascape the way I did. I know you guys that were around for the beginning saw that I played around with the aquascape a little bit, but if I had buried this wood in the back of the tank, I'd probably never see these guys. So that's doing good. Let me focus on a few things that actually helped me out. First and foremost, the substrate. The shrimp graded substrate, the stratum, is doing great. The plants are rooting up. I just picked up this piece of Ritala over here. If I edge over a little bit, I just picked that up the other day. I cut it in half. I put half in the tub outside, and I put the other half here, and it's not really rooted up. I know it's hard to see because I got so much stuff over there, but it's actually just stuck in right there with the little, it's rubber band together, and it has a little bit of root growth coming out, but I could not get my hands in the tank enough, and there wasn't enough clearance to actually get it into the substrate fully. So it's doing all right. You can see a lot of green growth. There's some new growth here on the top. You can see it's really bright green. The other thing is the CO2. I have the citrus based CO2 canister over there in the corner. You can see the CO2 canister is good. Let me check the pressure. It's still above the green. I have the pressure gauge on there. It comes on when the lights come on, and it shuts off a little before the lights shut off. But it's doing really good. As you can see, the plants are loving life. One thing that I definitely had to do, and I wanted to avoid that mistake, is I put an ammonia checker in here, because I know the shrimp are very sensitive to ammonia. I still test it once in a blue, but it's good to be able to, at a glance, look and check the ammonia levels. And I actually added a drop checker because I wanted to have a level of pH reading, since I'm dosing, CO2 directly into the tank. Sorry for the little shaky shake, but I think it's just easier to take the camera off the tripod so you guys can just keep track of what I'm looking at here. And you can see the hornwort, all the plants, the swords. Took a while, they adapted to the tank, and then they kind of took off. So everything is looking plush and green. Even you see the Java fern has a lot of little plantlets growing off the tips. Everywhere you look, you see little plantlets, and I never really had that before. So I have to attribute that to the addition of the CO2 tank. One of the other things that I have to add is I add leaf litter. These are oak leaves that I have sitting in water outside the house in the backyard. I let them kind of brown up and break down a little bit, and the shrimp really love this area. That's another reason why the aquascape is working so well, because they graze in the front of the tank and not in the back of the tank. You can see all the little holes where they kind of nibble on it. And I get a lot of snails over here too, but if they get really packed up, I can easily pull the snails out, just siphon them out if they get kind of overrunning here. And that's what I do on a regular. I just did about a 30% water change this morning. You can see one of the snails on the leaflet right there. Because the temperature is really hot down here. I know you can't see it here, but I have it hooked up to the hydros. I have a, if you can look in the back, you see that little orange temperature probe in there. That is giving me a constant temperature reading, which I'll post right here so you can see it. It's in the high 80s. Well, not the high 80s. It's hovering around 82 degrees, which I know is hot for shrimp. But you can see that the shrimp are managing pretty nicely. They've adapted because it's not an abrupt change. So they've adapted. And they do what they do. In nature, like I always say, in nature, the temperature doesn't sit at one level. I don't think Mother Nature works that way. So all her creatures have to be able to adapt to a certain extent, as long as it's slow and over a period of time. Another thing that I do that I definitely know helps me out, and I actually started doing it with all my other tanks, is I feed them in one spot. I feed in one spot. My Cory sitting over here fat. This is my little pygmy Cory over there. Sitting over there pretty fat, probably wanting to go to sleep because he just ate like a crap load. And I feed them using this feeder tube. Once again, members of the club said, D, if you want to see your shrimp, you want to keep tabs on the shrimp, feed them in one place. The feeder tube, I just drop my little sinking food. I have, if I can show you here, I'm gonna reach over here. I know you're getting shaky. I feed Shrimp Cuisine and I feed Hikari sinking wafers, which definitely these guys love. The Hikari wafers, I drop those wafers in here and I see fish and everything from all over the place just pop up like you didn't know where they even came from. But since they're so used to eating in one spot, it saves me a lot of trouble when cleaning the tank, because I really just have to focus on this one spot and get any detritus or uneaten foods, which I have yet to see uneaten food down here, because once again you get the snails. Whatever the shrimp and the fish don't eat, believe me, the snails eat. And you can see down there, there's very little moam down there. I mean, I just did a water change, but these guys are great at cleaning up behind themselves. And there's one of my sun-kissed shrimp. Not as yellow as he once was, but he's definitely gotten bigger because these guys were tiny. I'm gonna sit this back on a tripod so I'm not shaking you to death here. Hold on a second. Okay, that's a lot more like it. The other thing I have in place, I feed them in one place, I clean the tank, I change the water. I was using RO water, but I kind of weaned off the RO water because it is kind of dead as far as nutrients and things. It's kind of like a stagnant water, and I wanted to see how the shrimp made out, if they were going to be dependent on RO or if I was going to see something detrimental. But I prepare my new water before I add it to the tank. That means I treat it with prime. I let it sit for about an hour or two to make sure there's no chlorine or anything in there before adding it to the tank. And I also do that to keep the temperature somewhat low. I have the fan, I have the aquarium fan in here, if you can see it right there in the back. All right, that's my little aquarium fan. That's also on a timer, and that cuts on, keeps the tank a little bit regulated. Not a lot, but it keeps it from hitting a ridiculous temperature. And that is right next to the Aqua Clear. I believe that's the Aqua Clear 20. Nothing really circulation. I put some carbon in there. I don't really focus on a lot of mechanical filtration. This tank is so small. I do the water changes. It provides some circulation and a little mechanical filtration so that I don't have a lot of sediment in the tank, which you can see from looking at it. It is really clear. And oh, this guy is coming from my other pygmy Cories. I got about 3 or 4 pygmy Cories in there, and they're chilling. I had to get fish that I knew would not bother the shrimp, and the pygmy Cories, from everything I researched, are probably the safest catfish that I could have in there, other than the autocinkless, which are obviously hiding right now, of course. they're hiding because they've eaten and disappeared. I got 3 autos in there, and they are just chilling and loving life. And okay, I know this is a shrimp tank, but you know, a shrimp cannot sustain a fish keeper because we're nuts about a fish. One of my favorite fish right now, the ember tetras. These guys are awesome. I know he says, what's so awesome about tetras? Not only do they stay schooled like 90% of the time, but they are so interesting to look at because they will come to me like a cichlid. They know I come over to the tank. They come out from everywhere. It's like they just call each other. Like one will come and then they'll all come. And it's just awesome. And it's creating movement in the tank. You know, if the shrimp disappear, you're just looking at a bare tank. And I know for most of us, that drives us absolutely nuts. The ember tetras are, for the most part, shrimp safe. Of course, I'm sure if they're little tiny babies, you know, they're likely to grab one. But since these guys stay in the foreground of the tank, I really don't worry about that too often. And like I said, this tank is very heavily planted. The hornwort is absolutely nuts. And it is just getting cut every week, or it'll get moss on it. I have to cut that every week. So it's definitely going to end up at one of our, I'll probably bring some to the Greater City auction, which I think is this week. This is August, so I think their auction is coming up very soon. I'm bringing some of that and whatever plants I can bring from outside. I got a lot of plants growing outside, and it's looking cool this year. Everything's doing really good. So I'm not going to talk you to death. I hope you guys are doing well with your own aquarium projects. I had to keep you guys in the loop because people show you when things are always right. I got to show you when things go wrong. And okay, I will mention one thing before signing off. One thing that did bother the heck out of me is the plants are growing so fast that I do get a little bit of, like, I guess it's blackbeard algae or a little hair algae in the thick of this hornwort because it is a thin-leafed plant. You can see in here, if I can zoom in a little bit, that it gets dense, and I kind of pull that out manually, and I just cut it. I just regularly cut this every week, and that does an excellent job of just keeping that under control. You can see the new leaf growth here. Very new leaves. You can see how green it is. That's probably within the last week. Literally, because I cut this every week. And I cut it so that I don't stare at the feeding tube. So I kind of let that grow so that I don't look at that feeding tube. But I'll have to cut that again today before I go out. And that's it. So you guys, I hope you enjoy these updates. Click that subscribe button. Give me a like, a thumbs up, because I appreciate it. It shows that, you know, I'm not doing this for nothing, but I do it because I love the hobby and I love sharing, you know, information and helping others. And since people help me, you got to pass on what you have learned. So until next time, this is D from Brooklyn, keeping my sanity by keeping aquariums. Don't sweat too hard. Get a cool drink. Keep yourselves hydrated. And love, peace, and hair grease, everybody. See ya. Maybe I'll have to start naming these guys.